This tutorial is for Sassy Sunflower's window pane pattern. You will get to pick one of her patterns as you purchase one of her half-pack fabric kits from a retailer. You can log on to sassysunflowerquilts.com to find a retailer near you. You can either shop online with a retailer or find the nearest shop to you that carries Sassy Sunflower's half-pack kits. They are called half-pack kits because in each pack there will be 5 half-yard cuts of fabric. If you are quilting along with me today, you will choose the window pane pattern. Please note, you will need to purchase your backing and binding fabric separately. Once you receive your half pack, it is important to open up the package and press your fabrics. I do not recommend pre-washing the fabrics. This may shrink your fabric and cause a shortage when you're trying to cut out all of the pieces. Please make sure that you read through the instructions completely before cutting. If you watch the short tutorial through once, it may give you a better visual on how I cut, piece, and lay out the quilt. Our first step, as with every pattern, is to identify and label each fabric. With this pattern, I simply chose to identify them as fabrics A through E. First, open up the fabric, trim off your selvage, and begin cutting out strips. These strips will then be cut down into different shapes and sizes. Please refer to the pattern for the exact measurements. For fabric A, you will need 2 large rectangles, 4 big squares, 3 medium squares, and 1 small square. It's important to note that I only trimmed the slightest bit off of my selvage. I also did have a very little bit left over, but it gives you some wiggle room when cutting things out. For fabric B, you will need 3 large rectangles, 2 big squares, 3 medium squares, and 1 small square. For fabric C, you will need 2 large rectangles, 4 big squares, 3 medium squares, and 1 small square. For fabric D, you will need 3 large rectangles, 2 big squares, 3 medium squares, and 1 small square. And last but not least, fabric E will be cut into 5 strips of a thick measurement and 3 strips of a thinner measurement. The thick ones will be used for our outer borders, and the thinner ones will be used for the border for our center accent row. I did want to show you that I had the slightest bit left over after trimming out all these strips, so it's important to follow the instructions. Next, I did decide to take those border strips and sew them end to end, pressing the seams open so that way they would be ready to go for the border steps. And I went ahead and did the same thing with the thinner strip sets as well. Now might be a great time to remind you that all the seams in this entire pattern are at 1/4 inch. I'm inserting a tip here. I took each of the small squares, labeled them with their respective letters, and will be using them as a map key for the fabric diagram that comes with this pattern. It will come in very handy. You will see it as a reminder to me as I lay out this quilt. We will not need these squares till we get to the border step. Next, we will sew our medium squares together side by side to make a row. You can follow the pattern diagram or arrange it how you see fit. I did break this down a bit so you could see how I attached these thin borders. I laid out and cut 2 strips to the length of the center accent row, and then I folded all 3 pieces in half, lined up the centers, and pinned in place. Once you have all the borders, the thin borders attached here, you might find it super helpful to press those seams out. We will begin stitching the large rectangles with the large squares to make up our quilt. We will go on to stitch 5 of these type blocks together for the top half of the quilt and another 5 sets for the bottom half of the quilt. I really enjoy chain piecing here, so I pinned all the sets together and I followed the diagram on page 2 to kind of help keep me organized. I pressed all my seams, and then I'll begin laying out the quilt on my design floor. You can see at the bottom of the screen there, I have laid out the little map key, so that way I could keep myself oriented and be able to follow the diagram here. It's important to note that you do not have to follow the diagram. You can lay it out however your little heart desires. These are larger cuts of fabric, so I do recommend pinning. It just kind of helps keep your seams straighter. And just like that, we have the top half of our quilt finished. Now we will repeat the process again. We will repeat the same process here by stitching our large rectangles with the large squares, lay out on our design floor, and adjust as needed, and stitch together this whole bottom panel. I just wanted to take a moment to let you know that if you are really enjoying this Sassy Sunflower pattern, you should totally purchase another one. Her patterns are so simply written and come out so nice. They make wonderful gifts to be cherished for a lifetime and are a great way to add color to your home decor. We are now moving into the final stretches of this quilt. I like to align my centers, so I fold my pieces in half and will align those centers and pin outward. First, I will attach the upper window pane to the center accent row, and then I will do the same exact steps to align the bottom window pane to the bottom of the accent row. I do take a moment to kind of square things up here and make sure that all my edges are even. Lastly, we get to attach our final border. I cut the top and bottom borders out first, set them aside. Then I cut out the left and right borders. Pro tip here: fold the quilt in half and the border in half. Press a small crease and put a pin in it. This will do wonders when lining up your borders. Stitch the left and right borders on first. Next, attach the cornerstones to the top and the bottom borders. These are the small squares we've been using as our map key during this whole video. Came in handy, didn't they? Congratulations on finishing your window pane half pack quilt! Thanks again to Sassy Sunflower for this wonderful quilt pattern and for allowing me to create a tutorial to go along with it.